All right. Hey everybody, my name's Gideon.
And I'm Misha.
And welcome to episode 2 in our journey. Welcome to TSP Productions. And today what we're going to talk about is the Constitution. Now this is both the Constitutions, one coming from Family Federation and the other one from Sanctuary, from what Hyungshinim Kukshinim had come up with. And so if it's alright for me to share a personal story.
Okay.
Okay. I left my confidence with the whole headquarters of Family Federation back in 2013 when they came up with the Constitution. And before that, when I heard that they were creating a Constitution, I was very excited because I learned about what's happening with the economy worldwide, what's happening with America, and I understood that, wow, you know what? Things look like they're going to collapse with the $1 trillion of debt that America is going into, of the wars that were happening. So I thought, wow, if we're creating a constitution and people are very confident in this 2020 vision, that there's a possibility that we could establish a free country where people could have a safe haven, you know? And so I felt very happy about this, very confident about this. And here's the thing too, is I understood personally through other people's experiences of working for headquarters, of working for the church, I understood that there was corruption within leadership, but at least the principle was still there. You know, at least the base of our ideals and morality was still there. So I still had confidence in headquarters and Family Federation until I saw this Constitution. So when I saw this Constitution, I read the whole thing, and even though it's a draft, I gotta say straight up, it's a theocratic, fascist, communist slave document. I'm not gonna hold back on those words. I mean, it's so evident when you read the thing and you just think outside of the box what it says here. When I read over it, from my understanding of reading Father's words, Father really liked the U.S. Constitution, and he even said himself that that the U.S. Constitution is similar to Cheonguk. It's just that it's going to be improved. So when I saw what Family Fed has came up with, it's like, not only are they trying to reinvent the wheel, like it's going in a whole totally different route. Again, I said a theocratic, fascist, communist document. You know, they didn't have any of the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, right to defend yourself, and so on. Nothing to do with property, and a lot of way too much government control. So when I'm reading this, I know for the most part, people in the church, especially at the time, are not politically savvy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you can say that.
Right. And you know, more people are more, you know, involved with like spirituality and morality, but not so much on politics. But this is like it's like, okay, either you're incompetent or this has a very different motivation to literally control people. And when I saw this, it's like, I'm sorry to say this, I personally feel like this is a document that's trying to control people's lives. Whoever was creating this is not incompetent or doesn't know any better, you know, and they're sincerely trying to do something good for the people. It's way too much power. It's just way, and there's so much room for corruption. You can't be, I'm sorry, you can't be that again, incompetent when creating this document. So when I saw that, it's like, alright, that's it. I'm done. I lost confidence because now I see how they would treat us. Now I see how they see us as normal members. I mean, think about this. I'm sure many of you could at least admit that there's some type of leadership corruption. Not all leaders who work for headquarters are corrupt people, of course. I mean, there's a lot of second gen that I know who are very sincere people. But I'm sure we could all agree there's some corruption that's happening in the church. But it's different when it's a church, because you could freely associate with that church.
Yeah.
But now if you're going to instill that in a nation and have mandated laws with that corrupt leadership, that's a whole different story now. And it's like I'm not gonna deal with that. I don't want to associate myself and be a slave to men. Because fundamentally, if you're a slave to a man, that's very Luciferian to me. It's very satanic. It's satanic when a man owns another man by mandated powers.
Before we continue, can you just clarify what theocratic means?
So what theocratic means, and maybe if I were to explain all the different types, so
Okay.
like communism and fascism.
The different types of government.
Right.
Okay.
So communism is defined as government controlling the economy. So it's like government controlling private property, controlling means of production. That's communism. Fascism is government owning people's minds. So
like Hitler, was that
right?
Hitler's Germany was considered fascist.
It was considered fascist. I mean, he was a socialist. He was a socialist democratic, but he was also a fascist, where people had to believe in his ideology, and people didn't believe in his ideology, then they'd be reprimanded, killed, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Theocracy is more similar to fascism, where people have to agree to ideology, but it's this weird idea that God is in control of this country, but through the government. So government doesn't say directly that they are God, but that they are the vessels of God, and also people have to agree to the ideology. I mean, this is what happens with Sharia law.
So that's Islamic.
That's Islamic
government.
Government,
Okay.
right? Sharia law, which is a theocratic Islamic state. Okay. Is any more questions before we go?
I'm slowly learning.
You're slowly learning. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine.
It's like it has to soak in a little bit, and I have to do my own research, but we're gonna learn a lot more today.
We're gonna learn a lot, or it's gonna be a really good day. I've had really good friends who went to Top Gun, and I know in Top Gun they go over the Constitution, and I've asked one of my friends that went to Top Gun. I asked, "Hey, when you guys went over the Constitution, did anyone ever question it in a way of disagreeing with some of the laws or the amendments that this Constitution laid?" And my friend said, as far as I've seen, pretty much everyone who was there were just gung-ho, had like that Mooney high, and just wanted, they were like, oh, okay, just agree to everything. And it made me so sad, because some of the people that I saw who were on Top Gun were people I really respect, and people who have guided my spiritual life and guided my spiritual growth, people I look up to. And I've seen them in Top Gun, and for me to hear that they've agreed to this document, it really hurts my heart, because it's like they don't know what they're getting themselves into, that they don't know that they're being owned by other people, that they're not being free, and they're probably getting so caught up with like the whole beautiful family atmosphere that's going on with, because for the most part they're with really sincere people, with really beautiful hearts. And so when you have leadership that says, hey, here's this Constitution, Like, let's go over it. And already in this beautiful atmosphere that everyone set up for themselves, it's I guess I would imagine it makes it so much easier for them to be receptible to things. You know, oh sure, why not? You know, oh, we already agreed to all this stuff. You know, same beliefs, because it's a theocratic document, and sure, like it explains like the ideology of things, but not everyone is gonna agree to that ideology. So you know what? Maybe I should just shut my mouth, and we'll just go over this thing, and it'll be much clearer to you folks. So, with Sanctuary's document, it supports the idea of Bill of Rights, where people have the freedom of speech. You could say whatever you want, as long as you don't hurt people's property.
So that's the First Amendment?
That's the First Amendment.
We're going over the American Bill of Rights.
We're going over the sanctuaries.
Oh, okay.
Because the Bill of Rights is in there. So there's a Bill of Rights and sanctuaries. So you have the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, okay, freedom to associate with people, freedom to petition, to report your grievances to the government. So you have that. You have the Second Amendment, where you have the right to bear arms. You have the right to have a militia to protect yourself from a tyrannical government.
Yeah.
And also to protect yourself in general from anyone who wants to intrude onto your property. Third Amendment is basically for people to, Third Amendment is, if there's a time of war, that there's no soldiers don't have the right to just go into your house and take rations or food from you, that you're still that owner. So the Third Amendment protects that your property rights from the government, you could say, trying to intrude. Fourth Amendment is the whole idea of search and seizure. So government's not supposed to just intrude into your house. Again, they need a warrant. So that's the Fourth Amendment. And then Fifth, Sixth Amendment, what later on goes there is about you need to have due process. You know, if you get accused of something that you're innocent before proven guilty. Okay, so it protects the individuals being accused of a crime. You know, so it gives a chance for evidence to be laid out, and people will be protected that way. And then eventually, like the Ninth and 10th Amendment is basically the federal government to respect the states' rights. So that's like a very brief thing with individual rights, which is just totally fundamental. Now when it goes to Family Federation amendments, it's the problem is it's just way too specific, and I have it right here. Yeah, you could actually you can find this online. Actually, I pulled this up from the Family Fed website itself. Okay. We'll link both of the constitutions down below. So, all right, here's the First Amendment. All right, with the citizens in Family Federation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Citizens of Cheongguk shall be equal before law and shall not be discriminated against based on considerations of gender, age, social status, disability, race, religion, or nationality. The point is, for it to say there shouldn't be any discrimination, that's impossible. There's always discrimination. And discrimination doesn't have to be a negative connotation. It could just be a natural, like let's say that I'm a Chinese person who wants to own a restaurant, and I want to have employees who are Chinese. That's my right to associate with people who wants to work with me, and I want to have Chinese workers. I'm already discriminating all the other races because I just want to have Chinese workers. I don't want to have any other workers. That's already a form of discrimination. So it's like just small examples of that, and you could get reprimanded for that. So again, this is like kind of like a social justice warrior, political correctness kind of thing. Already, that kind of takes away the whole First Amendment.
And I mean, that's the First Amendment too.
This is the First Amendment,
which is surprising to me because in America's Bill of Rights, right?
Right.
The first one is freedom of speech.
Exactly. And
this one is the complete opposite, where it's like, if someone's freedom of speech is harmful or you're offended by it, then it's like, oh, then that person can no longer speak in that way.
Right. Exactly.
It's just the complete opposite approach in my mind.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So if we were to go on, here's the second one. Citizens shall have the right to vote and to run for election in accordance with the law. Okay, fine. Elections, sure. Citizens shall have the right to submit petitions to a relevant agency of Channeljuk in accordance with the law.
What does that even mean?
I'm gonna get back to that with the whole petition. I think Dan's gonna expand on that too, because we're gonna go over the Supreme Council's power, which basically this Third Amendment has no how do you say, wouldn't budge the power of the Supreme Council. We're going to go over that. So fourth one. Citizens of Changnyeok shall have the right to receive a trial in accordance with the procedures prescribed by the Constitution and laws. Dan's going to expand on this, but this is the only thing that's been talked about, for being in trial. It explains nothing with due process. So... And for it to say procedures prescribed by the Constitution and law, so what it is that you're basically at the mercy of people who are running the government to say, oh, this person had this problem. Well, caused this crime. Well, then maybe they should have this type of punishment. Like, there's not a clear system of, oh, if you did this punishment. If you did this crime, you clearly have to receive this punishment. The way how it's open with this is that it gives the possibility of the leaders of the government to throw in any type of punishment they want at you. You see my point?
Yeah, so it says in accordance, so right to receive a trial in accordance with the procedures prescribed by the Constitution and laws. Mm-hmm. So are you saying that the Constitution and laws are not clear in what type
Right,
of...
it's not clear in what...
So is it just saying like, oh, the Supreme Council decides what
type of punishments, whatever by a whim.
So it's kind of arbitrary. It's like, oh, I'm feeling extra mean today. I want to give a really mean punishment to this person.
Sure, right.
Okay, that's interesting.
No due process, so the person doesn't have any chance of gathering evidence to protect himself. There's nothing with that. Okay. Fifth Amendment. Citizens have the right to receive an education for the purpose of perfecting the three great blessings. Again, it's just way too specific. I don't know, we receive education here in America, and we're supposed to be a free state. So we're going to go over the education part as well. Changnyeok citizens have the right to become public officials. Okay, fine. 7. Citizens of Changnyeok shall have the right to become Hundok family leaders and heavenly tribal messiahs.
It's like, why,
Sure.
It's like, why do they need to say those things? If we're a free society, why do you need to tell us that we have the right to become these very specific things?
Right.
I don't know.
It's the example I like to give is if the Constitution said you have the right to eat all types of potato chips. That would be a good Constitution. And then a bad Constitution would be like, you have the right to only eat Lay's potato chips. It's like, well, why? Why can't I eat all these other potato chips? You see my point?
I personally don't have a problem with, you have the right to become a public official, you have the right to be a Hundok family leader. These are all fine things, but it's more of a commentary on who constructed this, that they felt like it was necessary to explicitly say these things. It kind of makes me question, okay, who exactly made this? And
Well, you know,
You
it's
know.
funny. Well, I think that's going to be a little bit clearer when we get to the duties. So here are the duties of the citizens of Cheonguk. Okay, here's duty number 1. Citizens of Cheonguk must preserve the pure lineage of heaven. Okay, just imagine this. What if I don't want to preserve the pure lineage? Okay, what's going to happen to me? All right, next duty. Citizens of Cheonguk must not violate the hearts and the human rights of others. Okay, so what does that sound to you? Not violate someone's hearts.
That's a pure Chunkin throwback for me, because
A lot of people told me that.
it was
Okay.
like, you must not, don't infringe on my shimjang, which is like my heart.
Right.
So that was like a recurring joke when we were there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That's fine. It's beautiful to have the moral obligation to not violate someone's heart. The thing is, that's between you, that person, and God. So if you're gonna have government involved in this emotional relationship that you have with someone else, that's a scary line, because again, like what we gone over with the amendments of the citizens' rights. Okay, imagine if someone came up to the government and said, "Hey, Misha hurt my heart. I want you to put her in court," you know, and then you get screwed over it. I mean, already a few people have known about like political correctness and social justice warrior people. This is like social justice warrior heaven right here. Their hearts are violated all the time. So
Right.
it's not a good duty. Here's another duty. Alright, citizens of Cheonguk must not misappropriate public funds. Alright, that's fair. Don't be a thief. Okay, that's... Alright, that makes sense. Citizens of Cheonguk are to read, teach, practice, and disseminate the words of the true parents. What if I don't do that? What's gonna happen to me? Okay. Number 5. Citizens of Cheonguk are to conduct activities as Hunduk family leaders and as heavenly tribal messiahs for the sake of the substantial settlement and completion of Cheonguk. Okay? What if I don't want to be a Hunduk family leader? I mean, do you see how unrealistic this is? I mean, we grew up in this church, and there's some second gen who have left. Alright? And, you know, our hearts go out to people who leave, and it's like, oh, okay, well, but that's their freedom to associate. You know, if they don't want to associate, fine, that's their freedom. Imagine being in this country now, alright, where this constitution is established, and you can't control everyone's minds. You know, everyone has their own unique mind. So if there's a child that's born, grows up, and decides, you know, starts to develop an identity for themselves, and decides, you know what, I actually don't agree with these beliefs, then what's going to happen to them? Well, we're going to actually find out right now. And this is the limitations and recovery of rights, and this is where it becomes clearly theocratic, clearly fascist, okay? So, number 1, in circumstances where a citizen of Cheonguk commits any of the following acts, a portion or all of his or her rights as a citizen of Cheonguk shall be limited. Do you see? So basically, if this person, if the person
does these things that we're going to list,
that
their rights are going to be taken away
from government.
Ooh, okay.
Government gives you rights, and they can take away rights if you don't abide by these duties, these... So here's number 1, an act of denying God and true parents. Okay, we'll define act. Me talking is an act in and of itself, you know. It'll get clear, okay? Number 2, an act of denying the identity and ideals of Cheonguk. Now, this isn't saying denying, or an act of denial of the Constitution, because right below that it says an act of denying the chunk of Constitution. So what does it mean by identity and ideals that you shouldn't act upon and deny? It means the ideology itself. So let me make this a lot easier for you, okay? We all know that it's clear from True Father's words that he heavily disagrees and he goes against homosexual behavior. Not saying that he hates homosexuals. As a matter of fact, you know, I got homosexual friends, you know, and I love them. I love them to death. But I do disagree with their behavior, their lifestyle, in the case of practicing homosexuality. Okay? So Father has clearly said that in the books, but now you're instilling it in this country. So what if there's a homosexual in this country? Basically, that person's rights are now going to be reprimanded just for being a homosexual. While compared to being in the U.S., or even with the document that Sanctuary has put up, people are actually free to have a homosexual behavior. It's not encouraged. It's not promoted. You know, in the U.S. Constitution, it promotes the Bible, but even though it promotes the Bible, it doesn't make it a theocratic constitution. Do you see my point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the Sanctuary's Constitution, they promote the 8th grade textbooks. They promote the Holy Bible, but it's not theocratic where they're going to shove all that to people's throats and say you have to abide by these rules or whatever, this lifestyle, because if you don't, then your rights are going to get reprimanded for that. Okay? But in here, you could be reprimanded for that by having, again, an act of denial of these ideals. So what's sad to me, what's sad for me is I've heard some people coming from Family Federation where their mindset, their thinking is, oh, people from Sanctuary, and which, by the way, when I explain this, I don't mean to sound all like division and stuff like that. It's just the mindset that I pick up from people. And some people from Family Fed feel like they're a lot more tolerant, which is fine. I think a lot of people in this movement are very tolerant people. You know, tolerant of you know, people who have disagreements with them or people who have different lifestyles. You know, I think for the most part, Unification members are not like a fundamentalist Bible bashing, you know, shove it down people's throats. It's like, okay, well, that's what you believe in, that's what you believe in. I'm not gonna force myself onto you. You know, I think that's everyone's attitude, really. What's sad is that people from Family Fed, they view themselves as being tolerant, which is great, but they have no idea that they are supporting a document that is extremely intolerant of people's lifestyles. I mean, heck, we promote this whole interreligious thing in the past. We embrace people of different religions. We embrace people from different walks of life. And now they're creating a constitution that's totally opposite of that. You have to be a Unification believer, because if you're not a part of this country. I mean, for them to take away those rights, I mean, which, by the way, it's not even much of rights in the first place, but the idea of them taking away those rights from you, it makes you subhuman, because now you're not equal to everyone else. You see my point? Do you get my point?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And if I've noticed, as we were going over Family Federation's constitution, I think what the flaw of this constitution is that it's assuming everyone is at a certain level of faith and maturity, and it doesn't give people freedom to question their faith, to grow, because, you know, you're not born automatically believing in God and true parents. I mean, it's something that I have to process too, because I guess my initial thoughts of Cheongguk was this perfect society where people would act pretty much in accordance with the principle, but I'm beginning to adjust as well and see that Cheongguk, the role of government in Cheongguk, what that should look like. It should give people the freedom to choose. I mean, that's what God does, right? God has given us the freedom to choose our faith.
Exactly.
Too.
Right? God let Adam and Eve be free, and the thing is, if they eat the fruit or whatever, it's just a basic universal morality in a way that has been set up before man was created. It was clear of what's right and wrong. So God's just being clear, hey, even though you have free will, but if you do this bad thing, which you are free to do, this is the consequence that's going to happen. You know, but again, that's between people and God. It's very different than between people and people. You see my point? So if you give people that power of a God, now it becomes a different story, because who are they to tell you how your life should be run? We're going to be a lot more clear about this as we go on.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our video.
Please like, subscribe, and also you have the freedom to dislike and comment however you want. Use that freedom of speech while you still can before you join the Family Fed Constitution of Cheongguk. See you for the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.